resident photographer, family photographer, and she's been scanning them in even prior to this, and so it's awesome that a lot of those were already ready, and we just added a few more to it. So, thank you for joining us to celebrate the life of Michael Luke Cepure, my brother Michael Lukovich. Mike. Mikey, Fuzzy, son, brother, uncle, cousin, friend, co-worker, neighbor, however you knew him. Our family thanks you for being here today. Mike was the third son, born in just 23 months. That's 3 babies in under 2 years in diapers. We were all close in age, and we were playmates and friends. We grew up with lots of teasing in our home, because teasing meant that you were loved. So you might have been slapped with the ugly stick at our house, or teased that you were, or even beaten with the whole forest. You might receive the slap treatment, or even worse, the dreaded spit treatment in our house. Mike might have even spit into his Mountain Dew so no one else would drink it. Mike could tease with the best of them, and you could see a wry smile coming on when he had a good one. Family dinners usually became a contest to see who could be the funniest, and our friends loved to eat at our house. Teasing and humor meant you were loved. Mike was not a religious man, although he's active in the Catholic Church in his early years. He was baptized at St. Patrick's Church in Lincoln and received his first communion there in the 2nd grade. He attended St. Pat's, Sacred Heart, and Cathedral Elementary schools before changing to the public schools. The teachers would always tell Mom, "But he's so quiet." And she would tell them to talk to him. And then he would talk. And that held true for his whole life. He attended Sunday school regularly and shocked our cousin Sue and her friend Joan, who were 8th grade teacher helpers, when he drew an anatomically correct baby Jesus. They had the nickname of Purple Squirt Gun for Mike. As a boy, he was active in Boy Scouts, Little Chiefs baseball, and played midget football for the Elks Lodge team. We spent a lot of time with Uncle Cyril and Aunt Nyla's families in Lincoln. Aunt Nyla would babysit us kids and found out the hard way that Mike really didn't want mayonnaise on his sandwich. We also played with many cousins at our Grandma and Grandpa Vosberg's farm in Orleans, where we ran and played tag, hide and seek, went exploring in the pasture, and picked mulberries and strawberries for Grandma Vosberg to make pie. We would beg Grandpa to take us for a ride on Corduroy Road so we could fly out of our seats as he went over the hills. We also spent time with our Cepure grandparents, Tate and Mimites, who lived in Lincoln. Mimites would sew clothes for us, and our favorite dog pillows for watching TV on that hard tile floor of our house. We lived on a picturesque street full of kids, and we were always outside playing. We rode bikes to the pool and knew a place to swim. We learned to water ski at Pawnee Lake, and we spent many Sundays at the lake skiing, tubing, swimming, and playing frisbee. Lighting firecrackers was also a favorite neighborhood activity, and Mike continued that. As a young boy, Mike learned some colorful words from the neighbors across the street, and he was repeating them loudly as he walked up the driveway to our house. And it turns out Mom also learned some new words through the kitchen window that day. We would go sledding at Pioneer Park and ice skating at Oak Lakes. Andy remembers riding bikes and jumping off the bridge on North 48th Street into the floodwater. In high school, we'd stay in Frisco, Colorado, and Mike was a daredevil on the snow ski slopes. At one point, there were 5 drivers in our house and 1 car, so Mom got an old Ford pickup, one with those really big side mirrors that stuck out. Mike usually drove to the pickup to work, and one day I needed the vehicle after school for something, so I had to skip a class to run Mike to work so I could have the truck later. It was snowing and icy. I also slid through an intersection on my way back to school, but we won't talk about that. We stopped at Little King's on our way there to eat lunch over at 40th and Cornhusker. And I was running back to the truck trying to get my feet in the snow prints from when I went in so I didn't get my shoes and my feet all wet. Didn't see the side mirror, ran straight into it, fell flat into the snow. When I came to, my brother was just sitting in the truck and laughing. Life wasn't always perfect. Our folks divorced. We didn't see much of our dad for a few years there. Our mom worked hard to take care of us and keep those growing boys fed. We would tease that Mike had a tapeworm because he could eat so much and never put on much weight. Sunday nights after the lake usually meant we were going to have tacos. That led to a taco eating contest. Mike won with, I think it was 13 tacos. Where's Kurt? Kurt probably knows the total number. But you don't want to know how that ended. When we started to see our dad more, the question arose of what to call him. Daddy didn't seem right anymore. We were older. Our dad said, well, you can call me anything you want. And so Mike suggested, how about Pops? And it stuck. Mike and Andy once took Pops' 1950 Ford out driving, Ford pickup, I should clarify, out driving at Fremont Lakes and got it so stuck in the sand that they had to call for Pops to come and tow it and pull him out. Public schools were Havelock, Dawes, and Lincoln Northeast, where he graduated in 1982. He frequently made the honor roll and excelled in science classes. He made lifelong friends in high school, Jeff, Dave, and Steve. He went to Southeast Community College after high school and was actually the first of us 4 kids to graduate college with an associate's degree in welding technology. But he only welded for a short time and then began to work as a custodian, and he continued that work his entire life, working at SCC, Harris Labs, Pfizer, and LPS. He liked the night or evening hours best and working where he had minimal contact with people while he got his job done. And he got his job done. His supervisor is the one who sent a co-worker to trace his route from work to home last Thursday when he didn't show up for work. He didn't answer his phone either. And this wasn't like Mike at all. He always showed up to work. Eventually, this led to the call to the police, who found that Mike had passed away in his house. We were so grateful that he made that call. Todd told me Mike was always there just before me or just after me every day. Initially, he was just thinking he was running late. Then he worried he had car trouble or a flat. And then making the call that he didn't want to make to law enforcement. Thank you, Todd, for caring about Mike and for following through. Mike really liked working at SCO for nearly 8 years. He took pride in his work and recently talked with his boss about adding a step to the floor cleaning process that would really make them shine. Todd said, if I had 5 mics, I wouldn't need the 10 guys I have. I never had to check Mike's area. Mike also liked the kids at SCO. He laughed when he told the story of a child with special needs who brought his lunch tray up to the garbage cans and muttered, "Fat ass," to Mike. He got an idea to have the kids earn a Dr. Domeno Music Day and took the idea to the administration for approval. He then worked hard to find fun songs that wouldn't cost him his job and made a playlist. Excuse me. Then he borrowed a suit jacket, tie, and a black hat to wear for the special day last year. His next idea was going to be organizing a fundraiser for a soccer field for the kids. He wanted it to be a field that the kids were proud of and that the other kids remembered playing on. Such a great field. Mike cared about those kids. He even knew the SCO chant. I didn't memorize it for the event. We hope that when that soccer field gets built, we can put a bench there in Mike's honor. Our family got together for all of our birthdays and holidays, as you can see in the slideshow. Mike was always there. Of course, there was the great food, the pierogi, the homemade ice cream, the lightning clouds, mulberry pie. For the dinners with mashed potatoes, we learned not to let Mike get the potatoes first, or there may not be enough for the rest of us. His nephews have that same love of mashed potatoes, so we may never get away with making any less. Mike was great at cranking the old ice cream bucket and swore that he could tell the difference between hand cranked or electric. He became a family pierogi maker the past several years, and he would take the day off before the holiday to make them. He experimented with a variety of unusual fillings, but his sister insisted on the traditional bacon and onion pierogi. This year, due to COVID, Mike played pierogi bunny and delivered them to each of our houses when we couldn't get together for Easter. He also loved picking mulberries and making pie. Holidays with Mike were fun. Her cousin Katie remembers a Christmas gift exchange where she listed candy as what she wanted, and she said she ended up with more candy than she had ever had in her whole life. I once received a 5-foot-long catfish pillow from Mike with whiskers. He had it in his apartment and wrapped it in newspaper, which Mike was a smoker, so when I received it, it had quite the odor. And then this started a mini fish war, where Mike received fish koozies, salt and pepper shakers, fish plates, fish shirts, fish decorations, many other treasures throughout the years. Toilet paper holder, yes, we found that in the attic. I was probably just getting ready to put it up. Our cousin Laura remembers the pierogi with unique things like shrimp, laughing at his witty remarks, and playing pranks on him because he'd fall asleep after Thanksgiving dinner. Mike loved his nephews, John, Nick, and Zach. They got to go fishing, camping, sledding, help make pierogi, chop trees and limbs, go to the Star City Parade, go disc golfing, watch the Three Stooges, go golfing, played with his old electric racetrack, and make the homemade ice cream with Uncle Mike. Vicki and Joseph also got to enjoy Mike's humor, his newspaper gift wrap, his appetite, and his love of cats. Mike once had a dream about a fire tornado. He wanted Andy to paint it, and he made him redo it twice to get it just right. In the painting, Mike is fishing on one side, and the fire tornado is on the other side. And we have that painting on display here today. Mike liked to go fishing at Verdigris, Pawnee, Branched Oak, Wildwood, and Twin Rivers. He'd usually go with his friends, and his friend Jeff told me of the day that Mike caught 4 catfish, and Jeff couldn't catch anything that day at Pawnee in 2001. Mike once took Mom's cat Valentine to camp and fished with him at Verdigris for a week. And they both made it back. Mike loved cats. We grew up with Bootsy and her kittens, Tigger, who lived to be 21, and Valentine. Mike adopted a stray cat and named her Sarah in his no pets apartment. And then she moved to the house with him. And then later he had Daisy and Blackie, who were stray kittens in his neighborhood that were trapped and fixed, and then Mike got them from the cat house. He would call and tell his cat stories about Blackie sleeping 20 feet up in the tree in a squirrel's nest, or Daisy kneading his sore back or knees and earning the title of Dr. Daisy. He built cat towers inside and outside of his house. He even cooked them fish and chicken to eat. He loved his cats, and they loved him. Even though he could be a little shy or rough on the outside, Mike had a big heart. He always showed up when relatives were visiting from out of town. He helped cut firewood for the wood-burning stove at Mom's. He helped with projects at all of our homes. He went up for visits at Aunt Rita's in Omaha. He sent flowers to our mom and her stepmom Karen for birthdays or Mother's Day. He called just to talk on the weekends. He had a big heart, and in the end, that's what got him. He didn't really participate in traditional doctors or medicine. He preferred using natural or alternative methods for treatment, so his undetected heart disease took his life and left us all with a big hole in our hearts that will never be the same without Mike. Have memories that they would like to share, you're welcome to come up. Jeff had asked to share a few words also.